debate about the huge changes we need, not just on MPs paying expenses. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The culture of secrecy, the lack of transparency in both Whitehall and Westminster, the over-centralisation in the way in which we're governed, the lopsided electoral system, which is wholly unfair.
But
those are the kind of things we need to be debating.
Just before you reform the entire world, in terms of getting rid of this government...
about it, Jeremy, but actually, I think it's important that people understand these things
we understand the scale of your ambition, but first things first. If he tables a vote of no confidence, the Liberal Democrats will support him in it.
David Cameron hasn't said he's going to table a vote of no confidence.
I'm asking you.
Well, it's a completely hypothetical
question.
Yes, of course,
as most questions are.
No, you're asking me whether someone who hasn't said they're going to table a vote of no confidence would do so. What he said is there should be a
petition. I don't understand why you're ducking it. Are you going to urge him to table a vote of no confidence?
Look, I can table my own vote of no confidence if I wish. And when
would you do that?
I have said that what I want is an election soon, but I want an election based on a complete rewriting of the rules of British politics. That's what I think is at stake.
This is like St. Augustine and chastity. You want it, but not yet.
I think it would be wrong, and I think it would be a betrayal of what the British people want, which is extensive change, to have a synthetic point-scoring argument about having an election tomorrow, which doesn't ask the fundamental questions about whether we're going to change the way in which British politics is conducted.
Okay, Nick Clegg, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're joined now by Sir Stuart Bell, who sits on the Speaker's Commission, by the Conservative MP Richard Shepherd, and by the television presenter Esther Ransom, who's considering standing against one of the MPs found out in the expenses scandal. Sir Stuart, did you find the Speaker impressive today?
Well, he did three things which were impressive. One, he apologised on behalf of the whole House of Commons to the people of our country. I asked him to do that, and he did do that. The second thing he did, he made it very clear all the major party leaders are going to get together. We are going to work out a new system, and Nick Clegg is entirely wrong on that, whereby the Speaker will have no further authority over financial matters, and that decisions, those agreements we will make, will come to the floor of the House. Harriet Harman will bring them forward as resolutions, and this matter of the finances of the House, the MP's expenditure and voices will all be cleared. Those are three very important and significant points.
Richard Shepherd, how would getting rid of this Speaker help anybody?
Well, I do think, in all fairness to Nick Clegg, that he set out quite clearly that this is the old system. This is what the country's in revolt about, and that this has been the stumbling block over 4 years now, with the denial of the freedom of information, going to court, trying to remove Parliament as a public authority, all the rest. No one, it's very difficult for me to argue to my constituents, you should have satisfaction in the statement that was delivered today by...
But do you judge, as you said earlier, that most MPs still support the Speaker?
Yes, the majority of MPs will support the Speaker, and the reason why, I'll tell you why, Jeremy. Nick Clegg politicised this debate about the Speaker by saying that the Liberal MPs would vote against him. Now, wait a second.
Well, this is coming out of a party issue.
Yes, it is. And
I suggest to you it's rather more profound than that.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. He made a very wrong statement. He should have spoken on his own behalf.
Well, you can make your own minds up, can't you? You have to react to what the leader of the Democrats says.
Well, I'm saying if we are not careful, the House of Commons will go the way of the United States Senate and vote a majority Speaker from the majority party rather than throughout the House.
The fact of the matter is, how many people are there on that early day motion now? About 20 or something?
I think that's right. But there is a precedent for this being debated. Although he is concealed under the title of Lord Naseby, he was Michael Morris. A motion was moved by Tony Blair against him, and it was debated almost immediately.
Esther Ransom, how do you think this looks to the public?
Terrible. It looks terrible. It's not just that the Speaker made a mess of his own expenses, which we know about, and lives in his palace but has second homes and things. It's also that he tried to keep it quiet. Now, surely, Sir Stuart, if he had any nous at all as a Speaker, and if he was a symbol of the democracy that we all respect and love, he would have years ago have said to you all, we've got to do something about this, and we've got to be transparent.
Well, he did.
Transparent?
No, he did. The Freedom of Information Act, the House of Commons agreed that they would publish the expenses in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. The Freedom of Information Commissioner agreed that.
What did you go to the High Court for?
I'll tell you why. We agreed it with the Commissioner. The Commissioner's decision to agree with our expenditure plans and the publication was actually opposed by others. and they appealed the decision of the commissioner, and that's why it ended up
We wouldn't
in the
know
court.
any of this if it wasn't for the Daily Telegraph.
No, you would actually.
We would not know
wouldn't know
any
the
of
detail
your
of it,
second
that's common
homes,
ground.
You would not know
your
the
flipping.
detail.
Yeah,
But the
We wouldn't know the
expenses you
detail,
would
but that's
know.
we
common
would
ground.
not know about the detail, and it matters because
Let
it's
me ask
the
you about
voters' money.
your
Go on.
position. You're here
Yes.
because you say you're going to stand. You are going to stand, or you're not going to stand. You're thinking about standing against the MP in Luton South.
Absolutely, but it depends on whether the voters in Luton South want me. I'm not going
What is the problem with politics that, saving your presence as superannuated TV nabob can solve it?
At this point, I remember Robin Day said something similar to John Knott, and he walked out. How dare you?
No, but what is
Just
it? What is
because
it that
I'm a
you?
senior?
But
Yes.
what is it that you can offer
Yes.
that a party political MP can't offer?
Independence. You see, I can look at the Speaker. I'm not Labour, Liberal, Tory. I'm a floating voter. I can look at the Speaker. I'm not criticising him because he's working class or Scottish. I'm criticising him because he's lousy at the job. And as long as he's there, you will have a terrible
Well,
spokesperson.
first of all, the House of Commons, and Richard may have a good point,
Yeah.
the House of Commons will decide the future of the Speaker. That will come. It may not come this week, I don't think it will. It may come after the recess. It will certainly come when Harriet Harman puts before the House resolutions which are approved, because then the Speaker may then decide, and it's up to him to decide, he's done his bit, he's done what he needs to do for the House of Commons, and he will make his own mind up.
You
So
see,
let's not
Richard
run the whole
Shepard,
thing
you
away
just looked,
today.
when the name Harriet Harman was mentioned, you looked as if you were about to pass out or retch or something. What's the problem?
Everything she touches turns to dust almost is, but it's not that.
Do you
If
feel-
you heard all these arguments, they're distressing. This is the People's Parliament. It's not just the possession of Sir Stuart and myself or Mr. Martin. It's the people's, and this is a continuum through our history. And what we're watching now is it really on its back foot, dealt with in total contempt now by public largely, and there was like Elinavi Far, the farce goes on, and the piano tuners are in there, and the government is going to do this and all this nonsense. It's not
Absolutely.
calibrated, it's not
Do
sensible.
you fear that there are going to be more people like Esther Ransom,
Well,
more
I-
independents?
I think it's
Maybe fear is the wrong word. Maybe
Well,
you should be enthusiastic about
we've
it.
seen this beginning to happen. The government minister that couldn't even stand up for his local hospitals, we now have an independent of the House of Commons because he stood up for something, believed in something.
And I've met a number of people who have said, distinguished people with careers outside Parliament, who say
Well, you wouldn't touch it.
for the first time now, they think there's a real role for an independent MP to come in, someone without this baggage, without this track record. I don't think I'm better than
is
you,
the baggage,
gentlemen,
I
but I
think
think
that's
I'm
right.
different in that I come from a world where we do consumer investigations and we bring them to the public. We want the public to be involved in decision making. And what you get with that, and I'm afraid, Stuart, with what your answer revealed, is a sort of internal ritual, a sort of jargon. He should be going now when the debate is on. He should be standing up and saying, I understand what
He
the
had
public
4
says."
years ago to be able to
Stuart,
be
do
in
you
that
think,
position.
Stuart Bell, do you think he will go
Well, I think that there's every possibility that he will go.
before the election?
Well, he may go before the election. He may take the view, and I give this as a personal view rather than another thing, that once these resolutions have gone through the House, which the leader of the House will put through, if we don't use her name, since Richard doesn't like it, those resolutions are put through, and he could say, I've done my bit, I've put these resolutions through, I brought the leading parties together, and I can sail into the sunset. Now, I'm not saying he will say that, but I'm saying that's a possibility. And that's why he didn't give a date for his departure.
Right. And just briefly, do you favour deselection of MPs who are found to have broken the rules?
It's up to every constituency Labour Party, and every constituency Labour Party
What's
in
your
the country.
personal view?
Well, I don't know if they have broken the rules. I'm only going by what I read in the Telegraph, but there will be a severe sanction either within the Labour Party
And they should be sanctioned.
or the electorate. Either the Labour Party will sort out its problems or the electorate will.
Okay.
This isn't helping anyone in a sense, is it? We will face an election probably sooner than later. It's within 12 months, and every one of us will be accountable to an electorate and will have to defend our own conduct.
All right, we'll see whether you're standing then, Esther. Okay, thank you all very much indeed. Now, there are further revelations in tomorrow morning's Daily Telegraph, and Michael Crick is here sitting on the Dave Allen Memorial stool. So what are the Telegraph saying tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow, in fact, it's the first day they're not actually splashing on their revelations. It's still on the front page, on day 12 this is, and they're mainly concentrating on the